Hello everyone! Welcome to Business School 101. Although no one can currently tell if it's a true threat or not, the recent increase of Chinese military activity in Taiwan has caused global concern. At the crux of this conflict is the fact that the Chinese government views Taiwan as a breakaway province that will eventually rejoin the country. However, many people from Taiwan feel that their land is a separate nation from China, no matter if independence is ever officially declared or not. So, what are the causes of the China-Taiwan conflict? In this video, I will briefly introduce the history of the relationship between China and Taiwan and illustrate the two major factors that could influence this relationship within the next decade. Due to the controversy and sensitivity of this topic, this video will focus on explaining facts that are supported by historical and statistical records rather than the opinions claimed by nationalists from both sides of the strait. Part 1. Quick facts about Taiwan. According to Britannica, Taiwan is an island located in the western Pacific Ocean that lies roughly 100 miles off the coast of southeastern China. It is approximately 245 miles long and 90 miles wide across at its widest point. Taiwan, which is roughly oval in shape, is approximate in area to the Netherlands or to the U.S. state of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut combined. In 2020, the population of Taiwan was 23.6 million. The gross domestic product, or GDP per capita for Taiwan in 2020 was around $30,000, which is slightly less than South Korea and almost 3 times more than China. However, since China has the largest population in the world, its overall economy size is around 22 times as big as Taiwan's. Mandarin has been the official and most widely spoken language in Taiwan since 1940s. This is also true of China. Part 2. A brief history of the China-Taiwan tension. According to the BBC, Taiwan seems to have first appeared in Chinese records in 239 AD, when an emperor of South China sent an expeditionary force of about 10,000 people to explore the area. This record is often cited by Beijing to back its territorial claim. Taiwan was colonized by the Dutch in the 17th century. Shortly afterwards, there was an influx of Hoklo people, including Hakka immigrants from the Fujian and Guangdong provinces of China across the Taiwan Strait. In 1662, Zhang Zhenggong, a loyalist of China's Ming dynasty who had lost control of China in 1644, defeated the Dutch and established a base of operations on the island. His forces were later defeated by China's Qing dynasty in 1683, and parts of Taiwan became increasingly integrated into the Qing Empire. In 1895, Japan won the First Sino-Japanese War, and China's Qing government had to cede Taiwan to Japan. After World War II, Japan surrendered and relinquished control of the territory it had taken from China. The Republic of China, led by Kai-shek, then began ruling Taiwan with the consent of its allies, the US and the UK. However, a civil war broke out in China within the next few years, and the then leader Chiang Kai-shek's troops were beaten back by Mao Zedong's communist armies. Chiang and the remnants of his Kuomintang government fled to Taiwan in 1949. This group, referred to as mainland Chinese, were made up of 1.5 million people and dominated Taiwan's politics for many years. Having inherited a virtual dictatorship, facing resistance from local people who were resentful of authoritarian rule, and under pressure from a growing democracy movement, Chiang's son, Ching-kuo, began allowing democratization. Li Ting-hui, known as Taiwan's father of democracy, led constitutional changes toward a more democratic political layout, which eventually led to the election of the island's first non-KMT leader, Shui-bian, in 2000. Part 3. Recent animosity. Relations between China and Taiwan started improving in the 1980s. China put forward a formula known as One Country, Two Systems, under which Taiwan would be given significant autonomy if it accepted reunification with China. This system was established in Hong Kong to be used as something of a showcase to entice Taiwanese people back to the mainland. Taiwan rejected this offer, but it did relax its rules on visits to and investments in China. In 1991, it also proclaimed the war with the People's Republic of China to be over. There were also limited talks between the two sides and official representatives through Beijing's insistence that the Taiwan, or Republic of China, known as ROC, government was illegitimate, meant that government-to-government meetings couldn't happen. In 2000, when Taiwan elected Chen Shui-bian as president, Beijing was alarmed, as Mr. Chen had openly backed independence. A year after Mr. Chen was re-elected in 2004, China passed a so-called anti-secession law stating China's right to use non-peaceful means against Taiwan if it tried to secede from China. Mr. Chen was succeeded by Ma Ying-jeou, who, after taking office in 2008, sought to improve relations with China through economic agreements. 8 years later, in 2016, Taiwan's current president, Tsai Ing-wen, was elected. She leads the Democratic Progressive Party, or DPP, which leans toward eventually declaring official independence from China. Part 4. Who recognizes Taiwan? There is much disagreement and confusion about what Taiwan actually is. China regards Taiwan as a breakaway province, and it has vowed to retake this land by force if necessary. But many of Taiwan's leaders say that it is clearly much more than a province, arguing that it is a sovereign state. As a matter of fact, Taiwan currently has its own constitution, tax system, democratically elected leaders, and about 300,000 active troops in its armed forces. Chiang Kai-shek's ROC government, which fled China to Taiwan in 1949, claimed to represent the whole of China and intended to reoccupy the country. It held China's seat on the United Nations Security Council and was recognized by many Western nations as the only Chinese government. However, in 1971, the UN switched diplomatic recognition to Beijing, and the ROC government was forced out. Since then, the number of countries that recognize the ROC government diplomatically has fallen drastically to about 15. Most of these countries, such as Honduras, Guatemala, and Belize, are considered relatively small island countries and believed to be receiving financial support from Taiwan. Considering the huge divide between these two positions, most other countries seem happy to accept the current ambiguity because it best interests them. As of today, Taiwan's legal status remains unclear. Part 5. Factors that could influence the China-Taiwan relationship. Theoretically, the relationship between the mainland China and Taiwan should be determined by the people from both sides negotiating in a peaceful way. However, this can hardly happen based on the current global political and economic environments. So thinking practically, I believe that the China-Taiwan relationship will be shaped by two major factors within the next decade: China's image to the world and the relationship between China and the US. Let's discuss these separately. First, China's image to the world. Although the Chinese government always claims that the growth of its country will never threaten any other nations and that its military power will only be used for self-defense, many of China's neighbors, including Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, Vietnam, and India, have recently become uncomfortable with China's rise to power due to its continuously increasing military expenditure over the last decade. If China cannot build a friendly and trustworthy image for its neighbors and earn the respect from Taiwanese people, then it will be very difficult for China to make any progress toward improving its relationship with Taiwan. It is also worth mentioning that we have recently seen the younger generations of China and Taiwan becoming more hostile toward each other because they are being influenced by biased media from both sides of the strait. This change will not benefit either community, and Taiwan may unfortunately take a stronger economic blow simply because of China's position of relative strength. Second, the relationship between China and the US. Whether we like it or not, most world elites, including politicians, economists, and entrepreneurs, believe that one of the major themes throughout the world for the next decade will be the competition between China and the US. The scope of this competition will cross all types of domains. Therefore, essentially, the relationship between China and Taiwan will be heavily influenced by the relationship between China and the US, because the US government is widely considered as the big brother that the Taiwan government always counts on. I would like to wrap up this video by saying this. I truly hope that the tension between China and Taiwan eventually eases because a peaceful and cooperative relationship should be the common goal for everyone. The political leaders from both sides should prioritize their people's interests rather than their own political ambitions. So, what do you think about the China-Taiwan divide? Please leave your thoughts in a comment below. On this channel, we strive to not only create videos related to business education, but also to cover hot topics regarding modern international business, as well as cultural and political environments. So if you enjoyed this video, then please make sure to give it a thumbs up, and to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.